one. It's been a long time since the last tutorial video, so I kind of wanted to do a new one, actually many new ones. And so today the topic is going to be kind of an index to structure the discussion of the coming videos with an S, hopefully. So it's about kind of talking about the different types of improvisation, not in terms of style, but in terms of kind of what the process is to generate the improv. And I call this like modes of improvisation, but it's a bit confusing because it's my terminology. It has nothing official, and it's not like musical modes. It's just the way you improvise. You'll see what I mean. Actually, I've written a blog post on this, and I've had this for quite some time on a blog that I hadn't shared the blog because I wanted to make a video that goes with it, because there's nothing worse than talking about music and not hearing anything. And so I had the blog, everything ready. I just needed access to an instrument. Sorry, everything's shaking. So that was the problem. That was the issue. But I finally got a few minutes. So today we're going to discuss these things. And I'm going to show you the 4 modes of improvisations that I think are worth talking about. And then I plan to make videos that give you specific exercises to work on each of these, right? So what's this whole story? So first, let me begin with a disclaimer. This is really important. I'm going to share some sort of classification with you. So putting impro in some small boxes. This is this type, this is this type, this is this type. I hate boxes, I hate classifications, I hate binary stuff, but it's it can be good to structure a discussion, right? So just have this huge grain of salt. It's flawed. I'm going to have this binary classification. It's this or this or this, but you know, it's very limited. My classification is not optimal, so keep this big grain of salt with you. So how do we classify? Well, there are two axes, 2 indicators that we're going to look at, and they each have like 2 classes. So if you put the 2 times 2 together, it's like 4 possibilities, 4 combinations. You'll understand, it's confusing. The first thing to look at actually is the difference between playing with your fingers or improvising with your fingers and improvising with your ears. So it's a bit weird, but the idea is sometimes we improvise with our ears. What does it mean? It means that we are hearing some music in our head or in our ears, right? We want to hear some sounds, and then we use our fingers to produce these sounds. So it's the kind of head first mentality where you hear a music in your head and then the fingers are used to produce this music. So this is one possibility. So this would be what I call playing with your ears. And playing with your fingers is the opposite. Here, your head is in your fingers, and you actually play something with your fingers, and then you hear it with your ears and you react to this. So you see, it's the other way around. Instead of thinking with your ears and then playing with your fingers, you play something and then the brain hears it and reacts to the music that you've produced. It's called, like, I like to call it playing with your fingers, but it's also sometimes kind of playing with your eyes, because at least for piano, you see something and then you can react. So for instance, here I have this chord and I could think, I could go there, I could go there, you know, but you see it visually. With your ears, you would hear the sound and you would think about where the sound can go, not where your fingers can go. So this is why we have these 2 differences. So first axis is playing with your ears, you know, or playing with your fingers. Okay, good. So far so good. The second thing is, and I'm sure you've noticed this when just playing music or when improvising, is the difference between playing consciously or just essentially going with the flow. So sometimes you play some piece, I don't know, right? And you're very into it, and you know, especially if you're playing by heart, you can even tune out a little bit, and then you have this moment of consciousness that comes back, and you're like, oh, where was I in the piece? So this would be what I call like drifting between, you know, being played automatically, playing something automatically, and actually being conscious. So, of course, in some moments you want to be super conscious of the music when it's very delicate, and in other moments it's also fun. You have to let go, right? So the second difference is playing consciously or playing automatically. So there are no order relations. I'm not saying it's better to play consciously and it's worse to play automatically. No. Both are very important things, and so it's the second axis. Playing consciously, playing automatically. So we have these four things. We can play with ears, we can play with fingers, and we can play consciously or automatically. So now we have the four combinations. This is what I was miserably trying to explain with my 2x2, right? So let's go to improvisation and have actually some musical examples. So what are the combinations? So the first combination is essentially, let's call it playing with ears and automatically. So this would be trying to hear the sounds but also let go and enjoy the fun. So it's a bit like speaking, right? And it's typically something that you view in music, or you hear maybe in music, that sounds very much like speech. It can be some kind of jazzy thing. You see here another. It's like someone is speaking. They're telling you all about their life. My dog was crushed, and then my dog was dead. It's I know it's horrible, but it's something like I'm very sad or something. It's someone speaking to you, right? It's this type of music. You're playing with your ears, so it's a very free flowing thing. But at the same time, you're not thinking too much about it. In Baroque music, it also happens, of course, and it's also speech. So there you have these maybe not too. There are several modes of improvisation, kinds of mixing here, but the part that was most like what I wanted to show is something like. It's this kind of. You have the question and the answer. You have like two people talking with each other. This would be this speaking mode, right? You're playing with your ears and not thinking too much about it. So, by the way, before I go further, this raises a point. I had two voices. And so, how does my classification fit in with polyphony? So that's actually a problem, because here, I was saying we have speaking mode with kind of two voices at the same time. But does it mean that both of my hands were doing this speaking thing, or because sometimes you have a bass for the jazz, the kind of more like tango jazzy. Clearly, the left hand is not doing. You're not doing much. You're just doing a few chords. So here, the right hand would be speaking, and the left hand is just doing some filling. In the Baroque example, both hands were doing something. So polyphony is difficult. And I think we should talk about polyphony separately. So, for instance, for the moment, let's kind of ignore this issue. But it merits its own video. What is polyphony, and what is the difference between harmony and polyphony even? That's actually not so easy to solve. So we've seen this thing. This let's call it the speaking mode, where you just improvise. Essentially, it's very fun. You hear music and you just improvise what you want. But still, you can work on such improvisations. They are very targeted exercises, especially in the Baroque case. And I'll cover this maybe in the upcoming video just about this speaking mode. So this was playing with ears automatically. Now let's go with I don't know. I have my little notes here. Let's go with playing with fingers and automatically. So the same thing, where you don't think too much about it. You're happy and you're just enjoying the moment. But now our brain is not in our ears anymore, but our brain is in our fingers. Okay, so what does it mean? it means that we're not going to listen to music, but we're going to view music as this kind of mathematical thing where we see notes and we think about the space between notes and stuff like this. Like, this is a third, this is a fifth, sorry. And so what is this mechanical mode where you do something automatically and with your fingers? Well, it's the typical thing that you see in Baroque music where, you know, you're filling, but with this pattern, right? So I'm sure you know the names for these parts, but you don't need technicity to recognize the places I'm talking about. It's something like typically you have circle of fifths that have these patterns put on them. So okay, here I'm getting too clever, but like it's really the mechanical thing. So typically in Baroque music, circle of fifths, you know, you have this very often. It's a scheme. It's an algorithm. I'm joking, but you know, it's like this scheme. It's like, you know, go there, fifth, cadenza. I mean, it's mechanical, and it's playing with your fingers because I'm not even really listening to this previously. Like, I kind of know what it's going to sound like because I've done it multiple times, but you can really view it as an algorithm. So here this was a harmonic circle, but you can do this even simpler. Like, let's say you take some scale, right, and then you do. You have this very simple pattern, right, and then you just shift and repeat. So here I change pattern, but it's still a pattern. Shift, repeat. Shift, repeat. And then you can switch modes and go to some more. But there is not much here that is intelligent. I'm not thinking really very hard. I'm essentially letting my players do something. My players, yes, but my fingers do something automatically, right? So this would be the mechanical mode, and again, there are very good exercises to work on this that I want to talk about. And it's very useful, this thing, because if you only do this, it's very boring, right? And you hear people that do this. That do circle fifths, and the worst is when you put it. I like the mechanical mode where it sounds mechanical because it's very cool. There is this machine that is very Baroque, but some people do this mechanical mode and put a lot of emotion in it, and this annoys me. Like, this triggers me. So you have these people doing these circle fifths. It's a circle of just do your stuff. mechanical mode, and the reason it's useful is because you're doing these other fancy modes that we're going to talk about, where you have to be conscious. And being conscious is not easy. I mean, being conscious takes some sugar in your blood. The brain needs to start doing some stuff, and it's tiring. And so when you improvise, it's good to switch. You have something where you can be conscious and focus, and then you can relax and have fun with either the speaking mode, where you just play with your ears, so you still listen to your music, but you have fun, or you also have these mechanical moments where you play like a machine. And so these things are, I would say, the most workable things. So I'm going to do the first videos on both of these automatic modes, because they're kind of filler stuff that can get you to very quickly produce good sounding improvisations. So we'll talk about this in the next videos. Now let's switch to the last two modes, which are these conscious things, and let's start with the conscious version of speaking, which is so playing with ears. Again, we're back to not doing something mechanical with our fingers, but playing with our ears and consciously. Okay, so we were speaking before, so now I needed another word that was more conscious, so I call this one singing, right? And this is essentially the same thing as speaking, but you are careful about what you are saying, what you are speaking about. So it's the difference between just talking like blah 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 blah, how are you today, I'm fine, you know, and an orator that has a speech that's carefully crafted. And what do orators or politicians, well, maybe not all politicians nowadays, but so, like some Greek politicians used to do, you know, you're supposed to think about what you are saying before you say it, right? And it's the same thing with music. So here, speaking, we hear, but we do it. Singing, you can think about it before you do it. And this is more difficult, and so you often need, especially, I mean, I need to go slower to do this. So in Baroque music, here again we have this polyphony problem. I tried to make a left hand that was kind of conscious. It's misleading because there are many voices, and I would say, you know, you only sing a few, typically maybe the top and the bottom, and then the middle is filler. So the filler is generated with some of these other speaking or mechanical modes. So this is why polyphony is tough. But here, you know, it's these kinds of slow, usually slow parts in Baroque music that are very singing-like and very beautiful, of course. But this is actually tiring. Another very good example and very good exercise, so I'll make a video on this one again, is when it's the left hand that's doing this. So typically this cello-like suite. So mechanical, like it's a way to rest. And if you think about do I have it here actually? No, I don't have it here. But the you know, Bach Busoni left hand Chiacon, I don't know how you say it in English, which is this beautiful piece, which is normally played on cello, but there's this left hand version, which is also very beautiful. And I mean, of course, in cello as well, you have these. It's not this, but it's something similar. You know, you have these parts where it's really mechanical, and you have these parts where it's beautiful and crafted and singing. So even someone as genius as well, you know, you have these switching between different modes of improvisation. Well, it was written, I guess, but it's the same principle in written music. Maybe because written music is just historically a formalization of improvisation. I don't know. I haven't thought that much about this yet. But so what is this? The singing mode. This is the most, maybe one of the two most CPU intensive modes, where you have to really be creative and hear this music in your head. And so here, the exercises that we'll see are mostly about focusing on one voice. So the right hand, the left hand, and trying to sing this voice as best as you can. So this is tough. I mean, this is tough because there's no real way to see if you're progressing, right? You're just like playing and okay, good, I did it. But some days you're going to find great stuff, and some days not going to go so well. So it's tougher. It's not like you're practicing some. And every day you can get better than the last, and it's fine, right? So this is tough, but we'll get to this. And the last mode, so it was a long video, but hopefully it allows us to start a discussion on these four things. The last mode is what I would say is some sort of calculating mode. So just as the singing mode was kind of a more conscious and more intensive version of the speaking mode, the calculating mode, it's again words that are just found to be different from each other, is an upgrade from the mechanical mode. So the mechanical mode was this it's a circle of fifths, and the calculating mode is the same thing, but we're essentially doing it consciously. And what I mean by this, the kind of stuff I want to identify, is when you have a pattern, when you have a process, when you have an algorithm to generate music, but you're applying it very consciously. So here it's very simple. The algorithm is like da 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 da, so I can essentially forget about it and just do it with my fingers. Now, the calculating mode, I would say, is more when you have these rules to create music. So for instance, you have a melody. Right? You have so if you hear this, you might start to hear a response. Like this here, but remember, we are doing with the fingers. We are in the scheme where you are playing with your fingers. So your fingers are your head, and I said like kind of fingers and eyes. And what I mean by this is not hearing the music, but thinking about music in a kind of more mathematical way. And so here I would say, using a calculating mode on this melody would be seeing the melody as it is, in terms of mathematics, a collection of notes and lengths, and so notes and rhythm, right? And these are all the notes that I use. Okay, so I have this melody, I've played it here, and now what do I do? What is my algorithm? Okay, so you think about it. So you are improvising, so you play, and now you think the rule is for fugue. So we'll see some of these construction rules. Okay, I go to the fifth. The fifth is this. You can even forget, you can even say, okay, a fifth has 3 notes in the middle, so I go to this one because it has 3 notes in the middle. I don't even know what a fifth sounds like, but I go to this one, and then I reproduce the same thing. So, but of course, you will probably say, yes, but come on, if you want to improvise a fugue like this, cheating, you need some counterpoint here. So how do you do it? Well, you can also generate it based on an algorithm. So what would be the simplest algorithm? The simplest algorithm is, well, you take a chord that sounds okay, let's say a third. I mean, technically it's a sixth, but you know, thirds and sixths, this is one of the rules. You can play thirds and sixths, and they're going to sound good. But of course, you can also view it as a third from below, which is why thirds and sixths are okay, right? And you just do what? Well, you just follow, right? I kind of cheated at the end, but you see, it doesn't sound very, very good. So, sorry, it's not even the same tone. It doesn't sound good. Why? Because remember the first rhythm video that I did, things need to be different because otherwise you can't differentiate them. So we had this melody. Right? And here you can view any counterpoint that you do in a mechanical way by saying, okay, let's say that I'm here. Okay, first I do this easy thing. Right? But then I need to change because otherwise if I do, people are going to be bored, right? So, right? Let's say I change the rhythm. It's a cadenza. So I didn't do anything genius. It's the same thing, but just not big, right? Right. So you can generate these things, and you know, I have to prepare a list of construction rules and show you that if you apply these rules, you can kind of generate music that sounds okay. And so this is an interesting thing to do because it's not relaxing like the mechanical mode is, where you can or you can just relax and have fun. But it's useful because sometimes, you know, you have a melody. This is going to sound good if I, you know, keep this interval constant. Here this was a mistake, but it's an interesting mistake. So, you know, here I kind of switched modes. Mistake. Let's use a speaking or singing mode where you hear music. Mistake. Let's fix the mistake from the calculating mode. Let's say it's another mistake. I didn't want to do this. You know, this would be very dissonant. It's actually it's a tritone. You're supposed to never do this, but it's interesting. And here again is the calculator. Point. My brain is not doing much because I'm thinking this is a dominant from this, so I want to do my cadenza. We'll see a bit of harmony, but you know, I'm thinking essentially I want to do. This is the only thing I'm going to do, But of course you want to fill it a bit more. What is this? It's just a pattern, so it's again some sort of calculating mode. It's just going by thirds. And again, this is some, okay, you have to do some minor inspiration to get this melody, but then the left hand is again automatically generated. Why? Because this is a 6, so it's going to sound good. And this is a third, so it's going to sound good, right? And this is because we're here, right? So this is actually, if you're thinking harmonically, we're here. And we're doing our credenza. So there was nothing intelligent in these last. So this would be a calculating mode. It's more work than just chilling out by... It's more work than this, but it allows you to generate stuff. Whew, so we covered laboriously, because I'm not used to improvising speeches. I'm used to doing music. No, I'm joking. But so this is not... the point of this video was not to do some boring classification. The point is that it allows us to structure a discussion about exercises that focus on each of these modes. So we saw speaking and mechanical, which is these automatic things where you can chill out, and these I want to cover first because it's the things that will allow you to improvise with ease, and I want to show you both tricks to work on this, and also like patterns, improvisations that you can take and then modify and play with, right? For both of these things. And then we'll do some videos on the conscious things, but the conscious ones, they come with your own experience. So that's kind of the way you practice them, is by just doing general improvisation and trying to learn about them. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one, but keep in mind, it's kind of a prelude, an index for the next upcoming videos that I'm going to post very soon. So I'll probably record everything at once, and then have everything, because I don't know how long I'll have this access to an instrument. No, I'm joking. And yes, so I've also posted a blog post on my blog, which is new. So I'll just usually I think I'll post some general content. So take a look if you like. I should have posted the URL both on my YouTube channel and in the description below. Subscribe and comment. No, you do what you want. It's fine. Click the bell icon. No, okay. Please. But so the URL is subject to change because I might buy a domain name or something. But it's a bit weird. It's a GitHub site for the moment, so don't feel I'm not trying to lead you to some phishing site. So tell me if you have any problems, by the way, because I hacked this relatively quickly together. So yeah, I hope it works for you. And in any case, thanks a lot for staying this long, right? There's this trick where you say comment below with this word, so I know that you stayed this long. But no, I'm not. You do what you want, and I hope you enjoy. So yeah, see you soon, guys. Bye bye. Have fun.